Most cyber attacks don't start with fireworks. They start with an email, a reused password, a moment when someone is distracted, tired, or rushing. And when that moment happens, the difference between a close call and a crisis is preparation. Inside this episode, we're answering a simple question. How do cybersecurity professionals stay ready, prevent attacks, and detect threats before real damage occurs?
Incident response planning is so important. It's going to lower your stress level. You can't prevent every attack, but if something does happen, it's going to be so much less stressful if you have a plan already in place.
A good plan answers the big questions before an incident. Who's in charge? Who decides? Who speaks, what rises up the chain, and how quickly?
A good first step is to kind of categorize the incident. What are we really dealing with here? Is this sort of a low impact incident, or is this like a code red, like we need to deal with this now and it's significant? And though that categorization will kind of trigger the rest of your incident response.
And once categorized, preparation becomes muscle memory, checklist, workflows, and escalation paths that keep the response team coordinated during the chaos. Cybersecurity isn't one lock on the door. It's layered security using the tools and systems to stop an attack before it happens.
You'll hear people talk a lot about the concept of defense in depth. And that is largely simply because there is no one tool that will do it all for you. One of their initial attack points had to do with a actual VPN account that had its credentials exploited through some sort of password reuse done by a former employee of Colonial Pipeline. And one of the things that they didn't have in their identity access management solution was MFA, or multi-factor authentication.
Advanced firewalls monitor and inspect where traffic comes from and what it contains.
Next generation firewalls kind of go beyond just your traditional firewall, right? Because if you think about a traditional firewall, what's happening is it's looking for addresses and certain ports that have either been, deemed as good or bad, right? And depending on whether it's good or bad, it'll either block or approve the traffic to flow in one direction or the other. Your next generation firewalls are going to have other things such as deep packet inspection, or DPI, and that actually allows you to not only look at the source and destination of your traffic, but also what is contained in your traffic, right? So you're actually looking at the data that's being transferred from point A to point B. And then as part of these next generation firewalls, you have other tools such as intrusion detection prevention systems, or IDPS. And those tools will actually be able to look at that traffic data and detect any sort of, malicious behavior, any sort of anomalies that is related to that behavior, and detect any sort of malicious signatures that could be previously identified as being bad. And those systems tend to stop the traffic in its place.
And where there's not endpoint protection, it's similar to a security guard on every laptop and server. But here's the twist. Even the best tools can't protect companies from human behavior. And that's why training and awareness programs are critical.
I think cybersecurity awareness is the most important part to cybersecurity. And I say that because technology is certainly important, but everybody can buy technology. At the end of the day, cybersecurity is a people problem, not a technology problem.
Every decision, every click is made by someone, an employee carrying their own burdens and workloads of the day.
Everybody's at a different place in life, so they're thinking about their day at work differently, but yet they're all making decisions that affect your cybersecurity. You certainly can't stay on red alert all the time, right? Always being on red alert for an attack is just going to burn people out. That said, you can't just wait for an attack to try to get good. If the first time you're partnering with your local FBI field office, if the first time your IT folks and your cyber folks are sitting in a room working a problem, or anything like that, if the first time you're doing it is during an attack, you've probably already lost.
That's where red teams, cyber ranges, simulations, and honeypots come in, practicing your response plans so organizations are ready for when it's real.
There are lots of ways to catch bad actors. Certainly having a red team that goes through your system like a bad actor, right? They become the bad actor, except they're not destructive. They're simply trying to find out which doors and windows are unlocked. They're not trying to then rob you. on the back end of that.
And make sure that you're covering all of your bases before you even get started.
But you're only as good as the level of role policies that you set in place.
So a component of cybersecurity is not just the actual security, it is how do you communicate security to senior leaders, and therefore they trust you when you come later and say, hey, this attack is really isolated over in this corner of the company, but doesn't affect the rest of the company. If you don't have that confidence, you might have to overreact and make decisions that actually, in essence, move the stock price. What would you do on that very, very bad day?